According to whispers that stopped even Candace Owens in her tracks, Meghan Markle didn't just leave Hollywood behind once upon a time. She may have left a daughter behind. A daughter, now nearly 30 years old, who grew up not in London, not in LA, but quietly in Chicago, raised by another family while Meghan erased her from the narrative like she never existed. Yes, I said daughter. And before you roll your eyes, let me walk you through this hidden chapter that Meghan Markle has spent decades trying to bury. Grab your popcorn, because the story starts not in Buckingham Palace, not in Hollywood, but in, wait for it, a tiny Las Vegas wedding chapel in the summer of 1994. Picture it. Meghan Markle, fresh out of high school, diploma still warm in her hand. Her classmates are off planning senior trips, giggling through photo albums, getting ready for college. And Meghan isn't boarding a plane to Europe or posing for senior week selfies. No, our girl is sneaking off to Vegas. Not for slot machines, not for neon lights, for a wedding. And standing beside her in that near-invisible chapel, a boy named Joe Giuliano. Not an actor, not a royal, just a family friend from Chicago with deep Italian-American roots. The kind of guy you marry because the family's like it, not because Hollywood will. 2 family witnesses, no fanfare, no photographers. Just I do's whispered in the shadows. But here's where it gets juicy. Within months, the marriage is annulled. Okay, fine. Teenage mistake, right? Wrong, because that annulment, it was sealed, locked up tighter than Fort Knox. And honey, when a marriage is just kids being reckless, you don't call in the county cleric to bury it like state secrets. You let it rot in the records like everyone else's. So why erase it completely? Because, according to sources tied to the Giuliano family, Meghan wasn't just a runaway bride. She was a runaway mother. That mysterious gap year Meghan talks about, her so-called year of self-discovery before Northwestern, baby, it wasn't gap year. It was maternity leave. Yes, by mid-1995, Meghan Markle allegedly gave birth to a baby girl. Not in LA, not in some glossy People magazine spread, but quietly, under the protective watch of the Giuliano family in Chicago. And here's where it gets cold. Ice cold. Meghan made a choice. She walked away. She handed that baby over to Joe's family and said, raise her, hide her, pretend she isn't mine. And then she left. No custody battle, no paperwork, just a deal of silence. Neighbors later remembered seeing a young girl at Giuliano family gatherings, but ask who she was, and you'd get the same line every time. Oh, she's just a relative's kid. No school records linking her to Meghan. No public acknowledgement. Nothing. It's like she was raised to be invisible. And Meghan, she scrubbed the slate clean, enrolled at Northwestern, and reinvented herself. Gap year? Check. Theater program? Check. Future Duchess vibes? Double check. That baby? Vanished. Now, if you're thinking, come on, this sounds like tabloid fantasy, ask yourself this. Why was that Vegas annulment sealed? Why does Meghan's biography skip over an entire year with no photos, no travel documents, no proof of her so-called self-discovery? And why has the Giuliano family stayed so eerily silent for nearly 30 years? Because silence is suspicious, my loves. Silence means there's something worth protecting. And here's the kicker. If the math adds up, Meghan Markle's alleged daughter is now nearly 30 years old. Right now, somewhere in Chicago, there's a woman living her life, working, hanging with friends, maybe scrolling through TikTok, who might just share Meghan's eyes, Meghan's jawline, Meghan's DNA. And she has no clue that the world might one day call her the Duchess's hidden daughter.
Imagine waking up to that headline. Imagine realizing you were the family secret that Hollywood, Buckingham Palace, and Oprah never mentioned. And the whispers, they say the resemblance is undeniable.
Out of nowhere, a woman known only by the initials DL has strutted onto the stage, claiming she's not just connected to Harry and Meghan's kids, but that she's actually their real birth mother. Yes, you heard me. According to her, Archie and Lilibet weren't carried by Meghan at all. DL says she was the secret surrogate for both pregnancies. And here's the kicker. She's got receipts, hospital records, NDAs signed in 2018, financial transactions. It's giving scandal of the century. Now, DL isn't skulking around behind some shadowy curtain either. No blurry face, no distorted voice. She's showing up calm, composed, and dead serious, like she's been waiting years to blow the royal house of cards down. And suddenly, all those old viral clips of Meghan's baby bump folding, shifting sizes overnight, yeah, they're trending again, and not in a good way. If this is true, we're not just talking about celebrity-level fakery. We're talking royal succession, kids presented to the world under false pretenses, with Harry and Meghan allegedly at the center of an elaborate cover-up. And if Harry knew, that's not loyal husband Harry, that's co-conspirator Harry. Think back to Archie's birth announcement. Remember how weird that was? No Linda Wing photos like Kate and William, just Harry, awkwardly grinning in front of a horse stable saying, "The baby's here." No hospital name, no press, no details. At the time, people chalked it up to the Sussexes wanting privacy, but with DL's bombshell, it looks a lot like stagecraft. And then, the bizarre birth certificate edit. Meghan's legal name wiped off, replaced with Her Royal Highness. Officially, the palace said it was clerical. Meghan said it wasn't her choice. But some are whispering it was a legal cover, because if Meghan wasn't the birth mother, listing her could have been falsifying a document. Here's where it gets darker. DL says she was recruited through a California surrogacy agency, locked into secrecy, and cut off from the outside world during her pregnancies. According to her, Meghan's team micromanaged everything: housing, doctors, even psychological support. But when DL developed postpartum preeclampsia, she claims she was tossed aside like yesterday's press release. That's when she started building her arsenal: texts, medical files, bank transfers. And she's not backing down. She's even dared Meghan and Harry to bring on a DNA test publicly. Meanwhile, Meghan and Harry's camp? Radio silence. Just frantic lawyers firing off cease and desists like confetti at a royal wedding. If you've really got nothing to hide, wouldn't you slam dunk this with proof instead of hiding behind legal threats?
Although I do have to admit this, right? I always find it weird when people introduce a new baby. Because if you think about it, there's such a big contrast between the end product and how it was made. The result of our sweaty night of just raw dogging, #blessed.
Behind palace gates, or should I say California mansion gates, things are reportedly melting down. Harry's inner circle says he's unraveling, barely sleeping, lashing out, pacing like a man who realizes the fairy tale is slipping through his fingers. Meghan? Ice-cold silence. No Insta posts, no podcast sound bites, nothing. For a woman who built her empire on controlling the narrative, that silence is almost louder than words. Even their business deals are wobbling. Sponsors are quietly pulling out of Meghan's lifestyle brand, afraid of being caught in a royal PR apocalypse. Rumors swirl that Harry and Meghan are sleeping in separate rooms. Montecito Mansion, less dream palace, more haunted house of suspicion. And let's not ignore the constitutional thundercloud forming over Buckingham Palace. If DL's claims check out, this isn't just a messy tabloid story. It's a crisis of legitimacy. Can children born via undisclosed surrogacy still hold titles? Can they remain in the line of succession? Constitutional scholars are apparently dusting off rulebooks older than Netflix because this scenario has literally never happened before. Insiders claim royal advisors are in panic mode, running quiet reviews behind the scenes.
imagine the optics. The monarchy, already fragile post-Megxit, having to explain whether Archie and Lilibet even count as legitimate heirs. So where does that leave us? On one side, you've got DL, fearless, armed with receipts, openly challenging the Sussex legal machine. On the other, Harry and Meghan, curiously silent while the internet stitches together years of inconsistencies into one damning conspiracy quilt. The Sussex brand, once built on authenticity and truth-telling, is now drowning in suspicion. Friends and celebs who once championed them are going suspiciously quiet. Podcasts are scrubbing episodes. The tide is turning, and quickly. If DL's interviews air on U.S. networks, and rumor says at least 2 have already been filmed, it could be game over. Not just for Meghan and Harry's public image, but for their place in royal history.
Holy shit. He said what?
Harry and Meghan are leaving the palace to become financially independent. And you see, this is what happens when you bring the first black woman into the royal family. Yeah, she looked at Harry and she's like, "Nigga, you need to get a job. You a grown-ass man. You can't still be living in your mama's house."
Let's talk about the moment Trevor Noah basically turned Meghan Markle from a duchess into a punchline. And honey, it was brutal. Picture this. The palace is already in chaos. Harry and Meghan are packing up the crown jewels, metaphorically, and saying, "We want financial independence," which, let's be honest, is the royal version of, "Mom, stop paying my phone bill, I'm moving in with my girlfriend." And then Trevor Noah swoops in, not with polite late-night banter, but with a full-blown public trial disguised as comedy. You could hear it in the audience laughter. It wasn't warm. It was sharp, guilty, like everyone just realized the fairy tale might actually be a con job.
Have you ever seen that video?
No.
Pull that video up, because it's one of my favorite.
No more following Granny's rules. Don't wear your pants on your head, Harry. Don't bath on the butler, Harry. If I want to play polo in my living room, who's gonna stop me?
Stop that.
Right away, Megs.
He roasted Harry harder than Buckingham Palace roast beef. Noah joked about Harry losing his titles being the biggest royal loss since William's hairline. Ouch. That's not just shade, that's a full eclipse. And Meghan? For years, she's played the role of the misunderstood outsider, the victim of racist tabloids and stiff royal traditions. But Noah sliced through that armor like it was made of tissue paper. He made her look less like a heroine and more like Hollywood's best networking sorority girl who happened to snag herself a prince. Speculation alert. Do you think Meghan saw that bit and threw her phone across the Montecito mansion? Like, "Harry, call Oprah. This is DEFCON 1.
Damn, Harry and Meghan are losing their titles? That's the most embarrassing royal loss since William's hairline.
And let's talk about Harry. Noah painted him as the world's most overqualified yet completely unemployable man. Imagine your boss having to say, "Prince Harry, you blew the Henderson account. Clean out your desk, Your Majesty." I mean, come on, that's sitcom gold. Word on the street is that Hollywood agents actually did try to book Harry for voiceover gigs. Can you imagine turning on a Pixar movie and hearing, "Oi, I'm Prince Harry the Hedgehog"? Meghan would be in the background like, "Make sure they spell Marco with an E in the credits, thanks."
Queen has announced that Harry and Meghan can no longer describe themselves as royal. And I won't lie, if I was Harry and Meghan, I'll be like, fine, then we'll be known as Royale.
But here's where it gets truly savage. Noah didn't just make jokes, he lit the fuse. Suddenly, every comedian, from Conan to Joe Rogan, smelled blood. The Sussexes weren't just royals anymore. They were Hollywood's newest comedy punching bags. SNL reduced Meghan to that girl from Deal or No Deal. Andrew Schultz went nuclear with America Doesn't Care About You. And the British comics? Oh, honey, the Brits treated it like sport. Puppet shows, late-night bits, Jimmy Carr crossing lines so sharp they sliced Buckingham curtains in half. And then the internet got hold of it. TikTok turned Meghan's pineapple cutting tutorials into a meme empire. YouTube auto-tuned her interviews into EDM remixes. Suddenly, Meghan wasn't a duchess. She was a genre.
Although I do have to admit this, right? I always find it weird when people introduce a new baby. Because if you think about it, there's such a big contrast between the end product and how it was made. The result of our sweaty night of just raw dogging, #blessed.
Now here's the twist no one talks about. While Meghan and Harry claim they wanted privacy, their entire brand depends on selling access to their private lives. And that's why the comedy hits so hard. Every time they cry, "Leave us alone," a new Netflix special drops. Every time Harry says, "We want normal lives," boom, another tell-all book. And the comedians? They're not inventing hypocrisy, they're pointing it out like neon signs in Vegas. The audience laughs, but underneath, it's recognition. These two built their empire on contradictions.
So here's the million-dollar gossip question. Can Meghan and Harry ever reclaim their story once the world has decided it's funnier without them? Because once you become a meme, a roast, a puppet caricature, honey, you don't get to control the punchline. And Trevor Noah, he wasn't just telling jokes. He was handing the Sussexes their cultural pink slip. The crown may be gone, but the clown shoes, those, it seems, fit perfectly. And that, my friends, is the royal roast that refuses to die. Stay tuned, because if you thought that was savage, wait until you hear what Meghan reportedly did after Spitting Image aired. Let's just say tiaras were thrown.